We're going to go over the English language arts shifts and kind of show you guys how we're getting our kids up to that place where they are able to take that test comfortably. I'm Bhavini Bhakta. I'm a Common Core coach here in Arcadia. I work here at Longley Way. I also work at Camino Grove and at Dana Middle School.
I'm Renee Costarella. I'm the academic program coach at Camino Grove. Here are our 6 shifts. On the left-hand side is our Common Core language. And I'm going to be nice to you, and I'll break it down to you in parent language. What we have, our first shift, is matching up our nonfiction text to our fictional text. And why do we want to do this? What we're trying to do, we're trying to create worldly learners, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to implement complex text in the classroom for our students to read. And while they're reading, they're not only going to be reading to answer comprehension questions, but they're going to be using the articles to support their answers, bringing in evidence. And they'll be doing the same thing when writing as well. They're going to bring in evidence from their article, not only reflecting on their own personal self and feelings, but the article as well. And then our concentration on vocabulary development. So as I said, informational text is being paired up with our literature pieces in the elementary level, meaning a teacher is going to read a story, and then they're going to find informational text such as a newspaper article, science, or a poem to show that the story or the concept or the theme has multiple perspectives. As you see, as your child gets older, by the high school, this shift is going to go from 70% informational to 30% towards the literature. And this is not only happening in the language arts, but in social studies and in science as well.
And as a parent, this is a shift at the elementary level that you want to expect from your child's classroom. Traditionally, when we've focused on literature, our whole literature textbook is fiction stories with a few nonfiction stories in there. So teachers are working very hard to plug in that informational piece to what they're reading and supplement it with nonfiction. But that's something you definitely want to look for, and our teachers are working very hard to supplement their reading with informational text.
As mentioned, we're trying to bring in this complex text into the classroom. What is happening is in the workplace and in college, their text is becoming more complex, where our textbooks in the classrooms are kind of at a standstill. So we're creating this gap. And with the Common Core shifts, we want to close this gap. We want our students to struggle a little bit when reading. They're probably going to have to read that text more than just one time. And we want them to create their own strategies so they understand what they're reading. When a teacher is bringing in a complex text or an article into the classroom, there's a couple of components that they're looking for. They're looking for the level of vocabulary. They're also looking for the structure. Does the structure have just one perspective, or does it have multiple perspectives? And most importantly, the students have to be able to actually engage with this text. We could give our students a medical article with multiple perspectives and this high level vocabulary, but are our students going to be able to engage with it? Probably not. So this is what teachers really have to concentrate on. This is instructional text. This is what is happening in the classroom. You parents are doing a phenomenal job in letting your child come home and continue with their recreational text. That means those chapter books, the comic books, and magazines. Please continue that support at home.
Okay, and with this shift to complex text, we are also shifting our questioning style to ask more questions that are text-based, and that's exactly what it sounds like. We're having kids refer back to the text, base their answer on the text to be successful. Now, I'm going to give you a list of traditional questions that we've used to date, and what we're shifting towards. Now, this doesn't mean this is all we've done and we've never done this. This is kind of just to give you a big picture of we're shifting from these types of questions, focusing a little bit more on this, still asking these. So let me give you a sample here. After reading a story, this is a typical question. In Casey at the bat, Casey strikes out. Describe a time when you failed at something. Great question. I'm making a text-to-self connection. I'm thinking about, I read the story, how did I fail? Making a connection. Now, great question. We will still ask this type of question, but we're shifting to something like this. What makes Casey's experience at bat humorous? What words does the author use to show this? Now, first I need to know what humorous means. I need to figure out what experiences Casey had that were funny, and then what words, what's in the text that show that they were funny. So I have one level of critical thinking here, and then a second level of critical thinking when I go to the text. Typically what kids are doing is they'll see humorous, and this is what they've been taught to do. Scan the text, humorous, 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 and they're not going to find the answer because they're not looking for the word humorous. They're looking for actions that show that this was funny. So this is, it kind of displays the amount of work that goes into this type of question versus this type of question. I'm going to give you another sample. A traditional question. After reading the story of Ruby Bridges by Robert Coles, how would you feel if you were Ruby? Again, a text-to-self connection, very important. We're shifting to a little bit more critical thinking too. What is a federal marshal? Use the following sentence to help you answer the question. The President of the United States ordered federal marshals to walk with Ruby into the school building. So this one, the question itself forces them to go to the text. They have to read this in the text and figure out what federal marshal is. The last one. Here's a question traditionally asked. In Sign of the Beaver, Matt questions his decision to not migrate with the beaver tribe. Why is he having second thoughts about his decision? This is a great analytical question. But if I listen to the teacher answer this, read the story and then ask this question, I can say, oh yeah, he didn't migrate because he was sad. Because I understood it. I don't need to go back to the text to answer that question. I know he was sad. But rewording this question just a little bit that forces me to go back to the text sounds a little like this. What did Matt say that showed that he was regretting his decision to stay at his family's cabin? What is the author's purpose in having Matt say those things? So here, now I could have said, oh, because he was sad, and I said, because he was sad, but now I have to go and find what words were there, what actions were there that showed that he was regretting that decision. Much more higher level thinking than over there to over here. I'm going to give you a sample of a complex text at the first grade level. Traditionally, a first grade teacher, if we're going to go over polar bears and grizzly bears, we'd get a book and we'd read and talk it out and ask questions and learn about polar bears and grizzly bears. This kind of like brings in that nonfiction piece. It's an Astoria ebook on the iPad. It's a complex text for the first grade level, and based on what I have the kids do with this, we're upping the level of critical thinking. So you're going to have to pay attention to this, as you're going to have a quiz. That's why you have colored pencils over there on your desks. So, you guys ready? I'm going to start over here. Polar bears are the largest predatory land animals. Polar bears can grow to be 10 feet tall. Here is a kindergartner next to a polar bear. Did you know the polar bear is an apex predator? An apex predator is an animal that has no natural enemies. Interesting fact, polar bears can stand on their hind legs. Over to this side. A grizzly bear can stand 8 feet tall. They tower over you. Fun fact, grizzlies can also stand on their hind legs. So, you guys got it? Okay, you're going to have a quiz. It's on the back of the cover page. It's on page 1, right underneath the shifts. There's a section with these 6 questions listed there. With your colored pencil, go ahead and underline or circle the 3 questions that are text-based, based on what we just went over. You could work with a partner or try to figure the 3 out, and then we'll give you the answers in a second. If you circled or underlined number 2, number 5, and number 6, you're on the right track. Words like, or the words or phrases in the text prove to you that's what you're looking for. That makes it text-based. Or what indicators on this page did you use to come to this conclusion? That makes it text-based. This last one, I want to point out that we didn't ask anybody to go to the text per se, like the words, but we're asking you to just look at the illustration and justify what you're saying. That's also completely acceptable because we want students to understand the importance of illustrations, why they're there in their text. And also at the K and first grade level, they're not as fluent readers as our upper grade kids. So we are having them look at illustrations to justify their reasoning as they go through this. This whole PowerPoint is on the AUSD webpage under Common Core. So all the PowerPoints you'll see today are on there.